Okay, today we're going to go over, just looking over the quadratic equations quiz review, just to get you guys started on that. 1 through 4, problems 1 through 4, you're simplifying square roots, and then you have some i's here, that's imaginary numbers. These notes should be, this is what your notes should look like. Simplifying square roots, this is on page 38. More square roots. Imaginary numbers, this is what the notes look like for imaginary numbers. That's on page 40. And then complex numbers, this is what your notes look like for complex numbers. That's on page 41. Those should be in your composition notebooks if you haven't put it together. Okay. Remember, with square roots, you're breaking it up into two square roots, that two numbers that multiply to give you 63, one of which you can take the square root of. Here, you're breaking it up into, since it's a negative, you got to break it up into a -1 times two things you can take the square root of to get 60. Remember, the numbers out in front need to stay part of your answers. Need to stay part of your answer, but you save it and multiply it when you can reduce stuff. Hopefully that helps. Here you just remember you multiply -4 times 11 and I times I. Hopefully you remember that I squared from your notes that we took. I squared is always equal to -1, so you need to reduce to a whole number. Okay. Adding, subtracting, complex conjugates. Adding, you don't have to change the sign. These are being added, not multiplied, so do not FOIL this. It's just being added, so you combine like terms, give me the simplified complex number, and then give me the complex conjugate. Here they're being subtracted, so you have to distribute that negative sign and then combine stuff. Here and here they're being multiplied, so that's when you get to FOIL. You should have notes on page 41 over complex numbers. If you're still stuck on that, okay, you need to look back at your notes. For 9, 10, 11, and 12, it says, solve each quadratic equation by factoring. Give the factors and the solutions. So when you're solving by factoring, that's when it has to be equal to 0, and then you look at what you have here, and you want to factor it. Since it's just an x squared, we're going to factor this with the x puzzle. The 16 goes on top, the -8 goes on the bottom. Okay, you factor it. Your factors here are what's in your parentheses. The solutions are going to be x equals something. Sometimes you'll just have 1, sometimes you'll have 2 x equals. It's what makes the factors equal 0. If you're stuck on this, your solve by factoring notes are on page 36. So if you want to write yourself a note, it looks like this: solving quadratic equations by factoring. We should have tons of examples. This is on page 36. That's solving by factoring. These, solving by graphing. That means you got to graph your parabola. Okay, you can retrace your x and y axis. What you do, you plug this into your calculator, okay, into a graphing page. You get it to graph a parabola. Wherever your parabola crosses the x-axis is where the zeros occur. So where x is one number and x is another number. Sometimes you have 2 solutions, sometimes you have 1 solution, sometimes you have no solutions. If you're stuck on this, this is what your graphing notes look like: solving quadratic equations by graphing. This is on page 37. 16, 17, 18, and 19 are all quadratic formula. Okay, solving by the quadratic formula, you need to give me the value of the discriminant. So that's, remember, the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Okay, the quadratic formula, if you don't remember, x equals a -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. The discriminant is what's underneath the square root. Solutions or roots, that's when you're telling me x equals something. And the type of roots are either too complex or too irrational. Okay, so that should get you started on the review. If you have any questions, ask. Good luck on your quiz tomorrow. Mr. Bruce should pass out the answers to the review at the end of class today. Why do I give you answers? So you can study. If you don't study, do you need the answers? No. So if you're going to study, I'd work through this. And y'all should rock the quiz tomorrow. Okay? Good luck.